There's the 50% rule in the stock market. If you bought the W, which was at $9.57, could you get a double off before we hit the 50% level? Yeah, that's actually what's happening right now. Probably do the same thing on this BITO, which is like a Bitcoin ETF. It's not really the best image, but nonetheless, I think you get the idea. There is the 50% level sitting at 26. There is the W, and this basically corresponded with the W in Bitcoin price right there. So that's from $11.55. Can I get a double on a move back to the 50% roll? You can see, in fact, actually damn close, right at 22, 23 and change. You get your double off, and the high there the other day was 22.13. I've said this to you guys before. It is part of the education program, and I think most of you are fully cognizant of this. Number one, first and foremost, LOL, or the little old lady approach, is all about risk management. It is not a setup. It is all about just a risk management strategy. So buys are less than 5% of the stake or whatever amount of money that you have to work with. And yes, sell half on a double and a little bit more because now we have to pay for DeFi fees and taxes. Maybe that's the reason why God taught us 2.618 to 0.618 goes to Vitalik and substitute drama teachers. And then really what I would prefer to do, and this might be a good example where basically I like the idea. I went and bought a whack of this at $5. Is it on that W? Could be. Could you change that to a weekly chart and say, well, that is your weekly W? Could be. You want to use that. More importantly, though, it's at the bottom end of this trading range. And what I like to do is I like to draw a simple fib and just ask if we get a 50% retracement of this range, will it actually give me a double? If we change this to a log or regular scale chart, right there is the regular scale chart. So you tell me if I do get a move back to the 50% level, am I going to be able to double my money on this investment idea if I go and buy this W down here? I think the answer is probably pretty straightforward. If I was talking to that Joe Koenige guy, right, I'd be saying, well, you know exactly what's happening here, right? A whole bunch of trap bulls sleeping on the couch, and the rally into that is freeing them. Now, do we create a whole bunch of more trap bulls by this thing backing away and it'll become yet another resistance line? Could be. If this thing can close solidly up here, then it means that the buyers are still well in control, and we're probably going to go up and release these trap bulls. And you can see that's 12, 13, 14, $15. And where is the 50% roll? Setting $53. I don't think we have to worry about getting a double off on this thing. It's just really a question of, can you be patient? Yes, I'm a little bit pissed off at the vulgarities of this space right now, but I wouldn't be thinking here I'm not going to see that double price, because I think it's just really a question of just being patient. If anything, probably now we're probably doing like A to B, C to D. So what a big surprise. I don't actually think we've actually hit that top. I wouldn't even be surprised through the weekend that we do play around up top here. And if it's on and off period, maybe I'm lucky and the stupid DeFi fees aren't going to be fucking through the roof and I can get that double off. So anyway, we'll see what happens. So back to our definition of little old ladies. So please understand, everybody, from scratch here, right? Little old lady is all about risk management. It is a risk taker, and she buys less than 5% of our portfolio in any one particular name. She doesn't have to worry about the name going off the board and disappearing because it's only 5% of her portfolio's risk. And that way she doesn't have to be bothered with things like margin calls or adding cash to the account to make sure she's not liquidated, or if the name does go off the board, her account's completely gone and hey, what happened? The maximum risk is 5%, which is very agreeable. If the shod is less than 50% of the range from back to the all-time high, then it is an acceptable trade location. And, this is a really good example where this is basically $5. So the shod level, of course, is going to be $10, right? Somewhere in this area. And is that below the 50% rule? I think we clearly pointed out that that is substantially below the 50% level. 50% level is way all the way up there. So, like, this is a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. Ironically enough, it's exactly the same thing in the stock market. And really, we kind of mentioned this earlier when I was looking at these stocks. It's the same logic. It's like literally identical. There's the 50% rule in the stock market. If you bought the W, which was at $9.57, could you get a double off before we hit the 50% level? Yeah, that's actually what's happening right now. So it doesn't matter whether it is the actual cryptocurrencies or whether it's stocks within the cryptocurrencies, whether it's a cryptocurrency index, right? You could probably do the same thing on this BITO, which is like a Bitcoin ETF. It's not really the best image, but nonetheless, I think you get the idea. There is the 50% level sitting at 26. There is the W, and this basically corresponded with the W in Bitcoin price right there. And that's from, remember, this is a weekly price chart. So that's from $11.55. Can I get a double on a move back to the 50% roll? You can see, in fact, actually damn close, right? At 22.23 and change. You get your double off, and the high there the other day was 22.13. So, you can see there's a gap all the way up into that closing gap, 22.39. So any kind of move up into this area, boom, you get your fill, more gaps up top here, gaps here, big old wick, release those trap there, bulls, gap up here. Hell, there's gaps all the way up here. So point of the matter here is the LOL sort of strategy is to just see if you can buy at the bottom end of the range. You want to throw in weekly W's, make it a lot easier. Fine. You don't have to have the weekly W's. What I really want to see, though, is if the market can rally back to 50% level, you can get that sell half on a double. So I said ideally we would like to see weekly W's to indeed indicate a bottom, but not critical. And a lot of those W's get tested and even broken with the LOL. The LOL doesn't really care too much because it's more about risk management and profit taking management than it is about quote unquote setups and trade setups. This ICP, I think, is actually a pretty good example of one that happened here recently. We were talking about this in a team meeting. Nice little double there. This is a weekly price chart. That was from 3, so up into that 6, 7 area. He's let half go. Here's a good example where you might even get to sell another half on another double. And I don't even think we're even close to the 50% level yet. No, it's way up there. So you might get another sell half on a double off here. Yeah, it's up to you. Or you might say, look I've got my free coins. I'm going to go put them on a USB device. Then I'm going to go bury in the backyard. And I don't even want to look at this until like November 2025, which is not a bad idea. So hopefully that speaks a little bit to the LOL risk management approach.